In the turbulent world of global politics, few statements carry the weight of a former American president's words. Recently, Donald Trump, known for his unscripted and provocative remarks, he made a claim that sent ripples across two of the world's largest democracies. Speaking at a rally, he suggested the United States may have engaged in activities to influence India's elections. This assertion, dropped casually yet with significant implication, immediately captured headlines. Trump alleged certain U.S. agencies were not pleased with the direction of Indian politics. He hinted they may have taken steps to support opposition parties, a serious charge of interference in the sovereign affairs of a strategic partner. The timing of these remarks is crucial. They came months after India concluded the largest democratic exercise in human history, a multi-phase election that saw nearly 1 billion eligible voters. Context: a deeply polarized America gearing up for its own presidential election. For his supporters, this is a bold exposure of a deep state apparatus, an apparatus that works domestically and internationally to undermine leaders. For his critics, it's a political stunt to score domestic points, potentially damaging a vital international relationship without concrete proof. The quest to answer begins with understanding the relationship he put under the spotlight. To grasp the gravity of Trump's claim, one must first understand the modern US-India relationship. For decades following India's independence in 1947, the two nations were often described as estranged democracies. India, a leader of the non-aligned movement during the Cold War. It kept a cautious distance from the United States, often tilting closer to the Soviet Union. The US, in turn, frequently partnered with India's regional rival, Pakistan. This was a period of mutual suspicion. The relationship was polite but lacked warmth and strategic depth. That made the idea of close cooperation, let alone interference, seem a distant prospect. However, the turn of the 21st century marked a dramatic transformation, beginning with President Bill Clinton, accelerating under George W. Bush, and Barack Obama, and even Donald Trump himself. This shift was driven by several factors: India's booming economy, its rising military strength, and most importantly, a shared concern about the rise of China. The US came to view a strong, prosperous, and democratic India as a crucial counterweight to Beijing's growing influence in the Indo-Pacific region. This convergence of interests has become the bedrock of the relationship, leading to unprecedented cooperation in defense, technology, and intelligence sharing between the two countries. The leader who sits in New Delhi determines the course of this critical partnership. When a claim as serious as election meddling is made, the immediate next step is to look for evidence. In the case of Trump's assertion about US influence in Indian elections, the trail of verifiable proof is remarkably thin, if not entirely non-existent. No credible US or international news organizations have uncovered any plot. No intelligence whistleblowers have come forward with documents. No Indian political parties have presented concrete evidence of American support for their rivals. The claim currently exists almost entirely in the realm of rhetoric, originating from Trump himself, and amplified by his political allies and sympathetic media outlets. This lack of corroboration is the first and most significant challenge to taking the accusation at face value. It is possible that Trump is interpreting routine diplomatic activities as something more sinister. For example, US diplomats, as part of their job, regularly meet with a wide range of political figures in foreign countries, including members of opposition parties. This is standard practice for any embassy, designed to build relationships and understand the full political landscape. Furthermore, US government-funded organizations like the National Endowment for Democracy provide grants to civil society groups worldwide to promote things like free press, fair elections. While some governments view these activities with suspicion, they are publicly declared and fall far short of a covert operation to change an election result. On the other side of the ledger, there is plenty of evidence showing the opposite: a US administration actively seeking a strong, stable relationship with the incumbent Indian government. In the world of diplomacy, responding to a sensitive and unsubstantiated claim from a prominent political figure is a delicate art. The United States government's reaction was swift, clear, and honestly, pretty predictable. A spokesperson for the US Department of State categorically rejected the notion of any interference, stating that the United States respects India's robust democratic processes and looks forward to continuing its work with the government chosen by the Indian people. The official line was to dismiss the claim as baseless and reaffirm the strength and importance of the US-India partnership. This is kind of a standard diplomatic playbook: shut down the rumor, project confidence, and try to move on. Behind the scenes though, the calculus for American officials is more complex. They have to manage the potential fallout with their Indian counterparts, reassuring them that Trump's words do not reflect official U.S. policy or actions. This involves private conversations through diplomatic channels where American ambassadors and envoys work to smooth over any ruffled feathers. They also need to consider the domestic audience. By denying the claim, the Biden administration is not just engaging in foreign policy, but also pushing back against a political opponent in an election year. On the Indian side, the official reaction was more measured and layered. India's Ministry of External Affairs typically avoids commenting on speculative statements made by foreign political figures, especially those not currently in office. Instead of a direct rebuttal to Trump, the initial response was a broader statement emphasizing the integrity and resilience of India's electoral process, noting that it is a purely domestic exercise free from foreign influence. This approach allows the Indian government to project strength and sovereignty without getting drawn into an American political squabble. It sidesteps the need to either validate or aggressively confront Trump's remark, treating it as noise rather than a credible threat. However, beneath this official silence, the claim undoubtedly sparked conversations within India's political and security establishments. For India, the challenge is to navigate the fine line between ignoring a potentially destabilizing rumor and appearing complacent while simultaneously asserting its own sovereignty in the face of a very public and political accusation. To understand the weight of Trump's accusation, it helps to step back and look at how election interference actually works. This is not a new phenomenon. It has been a tool of statecraft for centuries. During the Cold War, both superpowers covertly intervened in elections across the globe, Latin America, Africa, Asia. They used intelligence agencies, the CIA, the KGB. They funded preferred candidates, they spread propaganda, they even orchestrated coups. That history makes new claims feel plausible. In the 21st century, interference evolved with technology. The modern playbook centers on cyber tactics. State-sponsored hackers breach election commission systems, political parties, and campaigns. They steal sensitive information. That data gets leaked via front organizations, via social media. A key example: Russian hackers stole DNC emails in 2016 and released them. Digital methods are stealthier and harder to attribute than cash-in-briefcase tactics. Disinformation on social media is another powerful tool. Foreign actors create thousands of fake accounts, bots, trolls. They amplify divisive messages. They spread false narratives. They manipulate public opinion. Campaigns deepen divisions based on religion, ethnicity, political ideology. They erode trust in institutions, the media, the electoral process. For Trump's India claim, that evidence is missing. No digital forensics, no financial trail, no intelligence consensus. Allegations of this nature, even if unsubstantiated, are not without consequences. They create an atmosphere of doubt that can poison a relationship from the inside out. For the US-India partnership, the primary risk is the erosion of trust. This partnership, especially in sensitive areas like defense, intelligence sharing, relies on the belief that both sides are acting in good faith. When a former and potentially future US president suggests America may be working to undermine India's elected government, it forces Indian officials to question the reliability of their American counterparts. It can make them more cautious about sharing sensitive information or committing to long-term strategic projects. Furthermore, such claims provide ammunition to domestic critics in both countries. In India, non-aligned pro-Russian, pro-Chinese factions can cite Trump's words. They argue a closer alliance with America compromises India's sovereignty. This could slow the momentum of the partnership. In the US, isolationist voices could cite the controversy to argue against deep engagement. The ripple effect reaches the broader geopolitical stage, especially China. The US-India partnership is a cornerstone of the Indo-Pacific strategy, meant to create a network of democracies to balance China. Any friction between Washington and New Delhi is a strategic gift to Beijing. Chinese state media will amplify Trump's claims to portray the US as unreliable and hypocritical. That narrative aims to drive a wedge between allies and weaken the Quad. It gives China more room to advance regional ambitions without a united front opposing it. Finally, the controversy creates uncertainty about the future. With the possibility of Trump returning to the presidency, Indian policymakers must weigh what a second term would mean, adding unpredictability that can paralyze both sides. In the end, this episode is about more than just Donald Trump, US-India relations, one specific election. It is a powerful illustration of one of the defining challenges of our time, navigating a world saturated with information, disinformation. Bold claims often travel faster and wider than nuanced truth. The allegation of U.S. meddling in Indian elections, despite lacking evidence, forces two great democracies into a difficult conversation. It highlights the fragility of international trust and how easily political rhetoric can damage it, especially in a hyper-connected, polarized world. Understanding the truth behind such claims is not just an academic exercise, it is essential for democratic health. For citizens in the United States, for citizens in India, this is a reminder of the need for media literacy and a discerning eye. It's easy to be swayed by a shocking headline or a confident assertion from a powerful figure. Democracy requires more. Ask for evidence, question motives, distinguish verified facts from political speculation. If we fail, we become vulnerable to manipulation, from a domestic politician seeking advantage or a foreign power trying to sow discord. The strength of democracy is measured by citizens engaging with complex issues using reason and evidence. This incident underscores the responsibility leaders hold. Their words aren't confined by borders. A statement at a rally in Ohio can ignite a political firestorm in New Delhi within minutes. That influence comes with an obligation to be truthful and responsible. Using foreign policy for domestic gain without regard for diplomatic consequences can inflict lasting damage on national interests and alliances. Ultimately, this conversation forces us to confront sovereignty, trust, the nature of truth in the 21st century. While the specific allegation appears unfounded, the larger issues are real. Finding those answers is the great challenge for the United States, India, and all democracies.